Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Cassie. I'm currently in the Philippines right now. So, hello from our summer season here. Um, I am actually thankful for the space and for the invitation for sharing the Women Doing Philosophy experience for this conference. I actually been listening to the other speakers' presentation, and I'm happy that I was able to attend this one because I've learned many things. So, the title of this presentation is The Women Doing Philosophy Experience Challenging, well, I changed it into Decolonizing and Recreating the Canon. And again, I'm Cassie. So, hmm, okay, there it is. So, just a quick outline of this presentation. So, just I have first part and the second part. The first one would cover where am I coming from, and the second one is a very brief survey of the Philippine philosophical landscape, maybe, and why the need for safe and supportive spaces for underrepresented groups in philosophy, especially for our case, women doing philosophy. The second part is a presentation of what WDP has been doing so far. So when I say WDP, it's just women doing philosophy. So the main 2 points is the first one, building a safe and supportive community, of course, for Filipino women philosophers. And the second one is confronting the canon while transforming the philosophical landscape. So the first part would be providing a short context, and the second one I will present to you the works that we have been doing since we have just celebrated our 5 years this June 23. Okay, so where am I coming from? So the first one as a student of philosophy, a graduate student of philosophy, and the second one as a former philosophy instructor, and the third one as a member of the flourishing space for women doing philosophy. So for years now, I have been a graduate student of philosophy here in the Philippines, and my specialization actually is Canton scholarship, the three critiques of pure reason. So I know there has been a lot of debates pertaining to why, or questions about why am I doing Canton philosophy, given that I am a Filipino woman philosopher. The second one, as a former philosophy instructor, I have taught, I think, 10 years ethics in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, and also in the Philippine Normal University. And because of the space or the classes that they had for ethics, aesthetics, and others, I was able to experience how ethics is taught to our students and how certain frameworks in the Western canon might not necessarily does not necessarily encapsulate the experience of what it is to be a Filipino person in this contemporary times. And the third one, of course, as a member of the flourishing space of women doing philosophy, what was my experience prior the founding of women doing philosophy, and what has and how am I now as a Filipino woman philosopher, given that we now have WDP as a community and a space for us to share our experiences, our work, and to hear as well the experiences of other Filipino women philosophers in the Philippines and in the other parts of the world. So the second part, why we need safe and supportive spaces for underrepresented groups of philosophy. So I have three points here. So the first one, let me just read it. Recognizing, acknowledging, and taking account of the continued marginalization, silencing, devaluing, and erasing of women philosophers' work. The second one, dismantling and recreating how the history of philosophy is recorded, taught, and fought. So this is primarily for the classroom. And the third one, confronting the limits of some traditional philosophical methods, thus opening space for other forms of philosophizing. So, before I continue with this, I would just like to read some parts of the article that me and Dr. Tracy Lanera of University of Connecticut wrote about the founding the Women Doing Philosophy. So, I reflected on my own experience as a woman philosopher, that I am not alone in doing philosophy, and that I have fellows who are women doing philosophy that struggle for recognition, not only in academic and professional excellence, which extends beyond the university, and that this struggle might have been beating us down because here in the Philippines, we have not coalesced into a critical mass that can slay the multifarious phases of what we call misogyny, that includes internalized misogyny, of course, alienation and exclusion, classism, racism, gender discrimination, clericalism, gaslighting, and nepotism, and amongst others. So this, I wrote this during 2021, a year after having women doing philosophy. So Filipino women philosophers are still hounded by the sexual division of labor, bearing the burdens of writing minutes and meetings. Although I think now we have, if the meeting is in Zoom, we now have the what's that, the AI notes app. So I'm not sure if that's a good progress or not. Taking the role of the hostess in conferences and events, doing emotional labor inside the classroom, in their respective departments and in their professional organizations, not to mention the emotional labor that is done in the household and in the other relations that the woman philosopher has. Also, when we dare raise our voices, we either get laughed at for being sensitive or sweetly chastised, since we're supposedly, well, labeled as ladies. Or worse, we get sidelined and railroaded back into the stereotypes of being the virtuous exemplar of academic womanhood or the mad professor who knows not how to keep herself in line. Our rage, because it doesn't have any channel or ways to express, becomes meaningless, not because it does not have value, but because the system in place makes it so. And given this, it is exhausting to truly fight alone. So going back to the 3 points that we have here. So the first one, I think it is important for us to acknowledge that there is marginalization, constant marginalization, and dismissing of women's work or women's philosophical work. Questions like, are you really doing philosophy, or what you're doing, for example, for feminist philosophy, it's not really philosophy, are not just about devaluing work, but really labeling and boxing women into what they can do and not do in the academic philosophy field. For the second one, I felt that the woman philosopher in the classroom, there's a little bit of leeway in terms of doing the syllabus and how to conduct how the syllabus is taught to the students and how the students relate to the material and to the professor, of course. So I found that in my experience, there are pockets of spaces in the classroom that is much more, well, creative and much more free, although on how the history of philosophy or how philosophizing is taught. Maybe it's because of the free flowing discussion and the discourse that is shared in the classroom, or maybe because of the trust that the students have with the instructor and the instructor have with the students and the material that they have. It's also in the classes that they have held that they have experienced that students are able to ask questions about why things are so and why these texts are taught and not the other books that they have heard about from their other classes or from their peers. And the third one, because of the experiences that you have from points one and two, confronting the limits of some traditional philosophical method actually stems from the second and the first one. And I think as philosophers, well, I thought of this yesterday, I think, when I was listening to the other talks. It is our duty to make sure that the philosophical space is not just open to some groups of people, but the space itself has to be critiqued, questioned, and I think that is what makes philosophy alive, a lively and a dynamic discipline. Okay, so that's for the first two parts, where I am coming from and what certain problems and points that women doing philosophy has found itself confronting with. Okay, so this is now the second part. So the next the next slides will be a presentation of what women doing philosophy has been doing for the past 5 years, what types of topics and themes, and what types of projects we have designed to ensure. I wonder how do I go back to the wait a minute to ensure that we address the first and the second and the third points. Okay. So again, we were founded during the pandemic. So we had our first meeting, I think, via Zoom. So we have been very active online since 2020. And we have been a group of women philosophers all over the world. And that the members engage in the practice of philosophy who identify as women and who were brought up as women. The next one, I would like it to show our mission and vision. I always start our, when I share experiences about women doing philosophy, I'm always proud of sharing our vision and mission because this was a collective effort from the members. We workshopped this, we had this consulted. Thus, we maintain that this is what our core values are as well. So, for our vision, we envision a field of philosophy throughout the Philippines and the world where women can flourish as philosophers. And as what we've said, well, as what we've pointed out earlier, hopefully in the different aspects of a woman philosopher's life, may that be in the professional, public, or professional, public, and personal spaces. And for our mission, create and claim spaces that promote the scholarly, professional, and personal flourishing of women philosophers, and in so doing, transform the philosophical landscape through our contributions. Next. So, because of our vision and mission, and because of our core values, the next slide should be how we have been how we have been ensuring that these values are upheld and done and embodied. So this is the first one. Well, the first amongst many. So this is a current book, Resilience in the Brown Babe's Burden, writings by Filipino philosophers, edited by again Dr. Tracy Lanera, academics, politics, and society in the post-COVID world. So this is now um, I think this was already launched, so this is now available. So this stemmed from the Brown Babes Burden article by Dr. Tracy Lanera and Hypatia, and then the workshops that we had with women doing philosophy, and then it became a book, which is Resilience and the Brown Babes Burden. So again, this is a project that focuses on bringing life to the first collection of writings by Filipino women philosophers on the topic of resilience in the global pandemic. Again, since we started or we were founded during the pandemic, we are able to incorporate how the pandemic as well has influenced our way of doing philosophy. I'm not sure if you can see some the list because the second photo that we have here is a poster. So before this was published, we had a couple of workshops. And I think the last few workshops was a workshop for women doing philosophy. This was also funded by UConn. So we had resilience sessions. So the chapters of the book were workshop sessions during this conference. We held this at the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. And the authors, together with junior, what's them? Yeah, undergrad women philosophy majors were the commentators. So we were able to workshop the book chapters and we were able to share our learnings with junior women philosophers who then were currently taking philosophy. Of course, now they're already doing, some of them are doing graduate work. The next one. Okay, since this is also the same poster that we had, the one in the right, the Brown Babes Burden, was the first one of the first webinars that we did. Again, since the pandemic, we were mostly doing things online. So this was the first one of the first webinars that we had. A panel on the Brown Babes Burden, and also these were some of our keynote speakers during the resilience workshop in UP Los Baños. Now, the other project that we have is Beyond the Ghetto. So this was founded in 2021. So this is a newsletter. So in Substack, later on in the last slide, I will share the links for BTG and WDP. So this is a project that centers around the promotion of the work of women philosophers in philosophy in the philosophy classroom. So this is philosophically aimed towards Filipino philosophy teachers. So here in the Philippines now, in our academic what we call curricula, excuse me, our senior high school has a senior what's that, philosophy of the human person, which we hope would not be changed by the current Department of Education. So aside from the senior high school philosophy of the human person, we also have a required subject in the college level, which is ethics. So one of the main goals of Beyond the Ghetto is to make sure that not only that women philosophers' writings are part of the curriculum or the syllabi, but that women philosophers hopefully will be able will are the teachers of these texts. So a project that centers around the promotion of the work of women philosophers in the philosophy curriculum. It features a bi-weekly newsletter, and then we have, well, now not monthly, sometimes it's quarterly webinars, and the Working Feminist Readings Archive, which is as well embedded in the same Substack link. Excuse me. BTG also holds a blue stocking project. So there are online reading groups housed within the Beyond the Ghetto project, which is open to the general public. So if a person doesn't identify as a woman, the person can share or can join the blue stocking project, the blue stocking online reading group of the Beyond the Ghetto group. So this has been just some of the webinars and the Blue Stocking reading group that we had so far since 2021. So if you look into the first one, the rape and resistance one, this is a Blue Stocking reading group. So we usually have a discussion and then we share amongst ourselves, and this is still online. We did this online. The second one is the feminist classroom is now open. This is again in collaboration with the University of Las Bañas. So we have here Dr. Jean Tan, who was actually the one who founded and spearheaded the Beyond the Ghetto group, and we also have here Dr. Noel Leslie de la Cruz, who is now the the chair of the Beyond the Ghetto group, and our colleagues from the humanities department. So here they were able to share how the original objectives of Beyond the Ghetto. And the two here, we have here Sean and Risalino Malabe. They're professors in the university. So they share their experiences of how they were able to use the feminist classroom, the feminist archive that is housed in the Substack, and what mm, the reaction, sorry, of the students was when they were able to show the feminist classroom archive in classes. And third one here, combating toxic cultures in academia. Again, this was in 2021 to some of our webinars. So again, we have here Dr. Lanera and Dr. De La Cruz sharing about how certain spaces and certain ways in the academe has been toxic to Filipino women philosophers. Now, this well, this was in partnership with Beyond the Ghetto, but the Philippine condition is basically the project of, wait a minute, the critical social theory and feminist group. So just going back, so we had this because the CSTF, it's a little bit mouthy group. They wanted to have this. So these are the chapters that they hopefully would publish soon in a journal. So this is about the threads of critical colonial and feminist contentions that we have here in the Philippines. So some of it, so some questions on can dead bodies to politics, the colonial critique, and I think for the first one, Dr. Rowena Azada Palacios, this was already um, published as a book, National Identity in the Philippine Education, a Decolonial Critique. And then the third one, the Filipino, excuse me, philosophy series is actually an ongoing project. So the first one is just have an in-person presentation, an account of justice as virtue from Katarungan by Dr. Jacqueline Tuyofas. We have this from PUP, another university here in the Philippines. The next two will be an online webinar, and the last one would be an in-person webinar in Ateneo de Manila. So this is the current project of Beyond the Ghetto, the Filipino philosophy series. Just one of the many projects that Beyond the Ghetto is hosting together with WDP. The next one, so excuse me. So again, 4.2 in our previous slide earlier, we also have lectures in feminist philosophy. And again, this was a partnership with another university in the Philippines. We can have this in our YouTube channel. Again, I'll share the links later on. But we were able to have Filipino women philosophers providing lectures on introduction to feminist philosophy, introduction to feminist aesthetics, feminist logic, feminist epistemology, and feminist and social philosophy. So again, this is still in connection or in connection with our vision and mission as a group here in the Philippines. Okay, this is another group. So the Critical Social Theory and Feminist Group. So again, it is an ongoing project by some of the members of WDP, which focuses on critical theory, decolonial and feminist thought in contemporary Philippine society. So right now, I think the group is in talks with a couple of journals for their works to be published, hopefully soon. The other project that we have, an ongoing project, is we call it Philippine Philosophy Anthology. So we call it actually the Phil group, Philippine Philosophy Group. So again, members of this group are members of Women Doing Philosophy. And hopefully this project will include reprints of published pieces alongside original chapters and commentaries. So the group is actually now in the phase of looking into works written in English, Filipino, Cebuano, Ilocano, and other Philippine languages. Because again, well, the Philippines is a 7,300 islands, I think, as of today. So we have different languages and different dialects. So one of the aims of the Philippine Philosophy Group is to make sure that the Philippine languages are represented, especially if there are already Philippine philosophy texts that are written in the original Philippine language. This one, the next slides are the initiatives that the WDP had done, although all of these are continuing projects to make sure that there is support for junior women philosophers and to ensure that there is, there is continuity in the philosophical Philippine tradition. So one of the sessions that we had was a workshop on how to start with postgraduate applications for women doing philosophy, and we call this the Abot Tanaw group. Abot Tanaw, how do we? It can really translate loosely into perspective or up until where the eyes can see. That's it, Abot Tanaw, up until where the eyes can see. So this is where we house our initiatives on helping our junior philosophers, and in a way, this is a mentorship program or project by our senior women philosophers, helping junior philosophers to express or to hone their philosophical method. And part of this actually was two things. The first one are there are sporadic shout out and write sessions, and most of our members had been doing individual sessions with their own groups. And the other thing that we had was how to publish a book, a WDP Abotanaw Roundtable. So I think senior WDP members shared their experiences and their tips on how to get a book published for this session. I think this is the second to the last one. So we also have, yeah. So we also have been doing projects against sexual violence in philosophical spaces. So the first one actually was in partnership with University of Tasmania and the Australian government. So this was about the resentment, guilt, and shame under patriarchy. The second one was again in partnership with University of Los Baños. So here, the speakers shared their experiences of sexual abuse in the classroom in the university, and how some, I don't like to use the word method, but how some philosophers reacted to making sure that the classroom is a safer space. And the third one we had, this is also one of the committees that we have in WDP. So the gender committee. We have again in connection with the second poster, the sexual violence in the academe, and we had training by Carrie, Caring for Activists. So this is a Filipino NGO. So they provided us with a workshop with the tools and how to respond to survivor disclosures. And the other one is active listening and fostering supportive spaces. So before I go to the last slide, which is that of the links for BTG and WDP, I would just like to go back to the first 3 points or to the question why we need safe spaces, supportive spaces for underrepresented groups in philosophy, well, especially it's in the case of the Philippines. Because again, there are a lot of philosophers still in the Philippine philosophical landscape that does not understand why it is important for us to have WDP. And I think the presence of women doing philosophy in itself um, an answer to the question or a challenge to that particular question. And the second one, to make sure that we recreate or to have a narrative that is our own voice, we have Beyond the Ghetto and the other projects. And the third one, as what I've said earlier, and what as I have learned from the other talks that I've listened in this conference, again, as philosophers, it is important for us to confront our limits, our biases, and to make sure that those biases do not follow our philosophical methods um, and do not instill fear to the other marginalized groups in philosophy. So for the last slide, all of these projects and all of the recorded webinars are actually in Facebook and in YouTube. So for women doing philosophy, if you want to know more about our ongoing projects and the previous projects that we had, including some videos and audios, you may want to go to our Facebook page or Twitter, Instagram, and we also have a YouTube channel. And our email address is womendoingphilosophy@gmail.com. And specifically for the Feminist Archive, we have the Beyond the Ghetto, and there is a newsletter, the beyondtheghetto.substack.com. And also for maybe easier for us, we also still have a Facebook page, Getonian, for Beyond the Ghetto. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to stop share now. And thank you for the space that you've provided us for women doing philosophy. And I hope this will foster more creative spaces for philosophy to flourish. Thank you.